Welcome back, deep divers. Ready for another fascinating exploration? Today, we're diving into the world of Ikigai. It's this Japanese concept, and it basically promises the secret to a long and happy life. Sounds pretty good, right?
Absolutely.
We're going to be using excerpts from the book Ikigai, The Japanese Secret to a Long and Happy Life. And together, I think we can break down this whole philosophy, what it means, and, most importantly, how it can actually be applied to, like, your real life, not just some theoretical thing.
Yeah. I think what's really interesting about Ikigai is that it kind of goes beyond the typical, self-help stuff. It's not just like chase happiness or find the perfect career.
Right.
It's more about like weaving purpose and meaning into like literally everything you do every day.
I like that. So it's not some, like, far-off dream,
Right.
but something that, like, we can actually work towards and cultivate.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
very actionable.
That's encouraging. Okay, so before we get, too deep into this, let's start with the basics. What is Ikigai? Like, what's the definition?
Yeah. So the book defines it as like your reason for being. It's like the sweet spot where four main elements intersect: what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you can picture like a Venn diagram, all those areas overlapping. That's where your Ikigai is.
Okay. I'm starting to visualize it now.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to admit, sometimes these abstract ideas are kind of hard to, like, grasp.
For sure.
Is there a way to make this concept more, like, concrete, more real?
Well, the book uses the Okinawan people of Japan as a really good example. They have like a ton of centenarians people living to be 100 or older, and they seem to have this whole Ikigai thing figured out.
They've, like, mastered it?
Yeah, it's like baked into their way of life, their community, their choices.
But it's not just a theory, it's like a lived experience for them.
Exactly.
So what can we learn from them? What are they doing differently?
Well, their approach to life is very different from, what we're used to in the West. They're all about social connections. They value meaningful work, even if it's not a high-powered career. And they have a much more relaxed, relationship with time. They're all about lifelong learning, finding purpose in the simple things, not just chasing, like, some big goal in the future.
It's amazing how they've created a culture that supports both, like living a long time and being happy.
Right.
But let's be real, most of us aren't living on a peaceful island, right?
Right.
So how do we apply these ideas in our busy modern world?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question. And the book actually offers some pretty interesting answers. One of the key things they talk about is Morita therapy. It's a Japanese therapeutic approach that really fits well with Ikigai.
I've heard of Morita therapy. It's about accepting your emotions, right?
Yeah.
But how does that help with finding your purpose?
So Morita therapy encourages a shift in focus. Instead of trying to control how you feel, you focus on taking action. You acknowledge your emotions without letting them like run the show. So instead of getting stuck overthinking everything and being anxious, you learn to engage in things that are meaningful no matter how you're feeling.
So you're saying instead of waiting for, like, the perfect mood to strike, you just dive in and do stuff.
Yeah.
That sounds like the perfect solution to procrastination.
Exactly. And the book goes through the 4 stages of Morita therapy to explain exactly how it works. First, you just rest and observe, Just be with your emotions, don't judge them.
Right.
Then you slowly ease into light activity, then more intense stuff, and finally you jump back into the world, fully engaged and acting in line with your values.
It seems like this approach would be super helpful for anyone who struggles with anxiety or just feels overwhelmed by their emotions in general.
Absolutely.
Do you have, like, an example of how this might work in a real situation?
Okay, imagine you have a work deadline coming up, and you're just frozen with stress.
Oh, yeah, I know that feeling.
Instead of trying to force yourself to feel calm or motivated, Morita therapy would say, just start a small, manageable task related to the project, It could be just organizing your notes, making a rough outline, or even just listing out the next steps. The act of doing something, even if it's tiny, can actually change how you feel and break that cycle of not doing anything.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's about focusing on the things you can control your actions and not getting bogged down by things you can't control, like your feelings.
Exactly. And it's a great example of how you can use Ikigai in a practical, everyday way. It's not about waiting for everything to be perfect. It's about making choices that align with your purpose, even when things are tough.
Man, I'm already feeling inspired to, like, get up and do something.
Good.
But I'm also really curious to hear more about those Okinawan centenarians. What do they have to say about living a long and happy life? What are their secrets?
Well, the book has like these really cool stories and insights from interviews with those centenarians. And one thing that keeps coming up is how important it is to stay active and engaged throughout your whole life, like physically, mentally, socially, all of it.
So it's not about like retiring and just taking it easy. It's more about staying curious and connected to the world around you.
Exactly. They talk about this idea of Nuchi Gusui, which basically means life is a journey. And they really see every experience, good or bad, as a chance to learn and grow as a person. So it's not about reaching some end goal, it's about enjoying the process of growing and discovering new things along the way.
I love that. It takes the pressure off having to achieve something big and lets you appreciate all of the little things in each day. But what about when things get tough? You know, those inevitable challenges we all face. How do the Okinawans deal with setbacks and hard times?
That's where this idea of anti-fragility comes in. The book explains that being anti-fragile isn't about being unbreakable, it's more about being able to bend without breaking, like a willow tree in the wind. It's about actually becoming stronger and more resilient because of the challenges you face.
So it's not about avoiding tough situations altogether. It's about learning to handle them in a way that makes you stronger. Kind of like that saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger,
Yeah.
but with a more like sophisticated twist.
Yeah, exactly. And the Okinawans seem to really get this. They don't shy away from challenges. They see them as opportunities for growth and learning. They embody that idea that it's not about staying comfortable, it's about pushing yourself beyond what you think you're capable of.
Okay, I'm all about personal growth, but
Okay.
sometimes those challenges can feel pretty overwhelming. Does the book give any practical advice for how to build that anti-fragile mindset? Like, where do you even start?
One of the main things they suggest is to regularly step outside your comfort zone and try new things. Embrace new experiences. Take some risks, even if it means you might fail. It's all part of building resilience. Remember, failure isn't the opposite of success, it's actually part of the journey.
So instead of being scared of failure, we should see it as a chance to learn and adapt.
Exactly. The book also talks about the importance of having a growth mindset. That means believing that your abilities and intelligence aren't fixed. They can actually be developed through effort and learning. It's about looking at challenges as opportunities to grow instead of threats to your ego.
I see. So instead of thinking, I'm not good at this, you think, I'm not good at this yet.
Exactly. It's just a small change in how you think, but it can make a huge difference in how willing you are to take on challenges and keep going when things get tough. And along with that growth mindset, the book also talks a lot about the power of gratitude.
Gratitude. How does that tie into being anti-fragile?
Well, focusing on the good things in your life, no matter how small they seem, can really shift your perspective and make you more positive overall. It's about appreciating what you have, even when you're going through tough times. And that helps build resilience and mental strength.
So it's not about ignoring the bad stuff, but finding a sense of appreciation that helps you get through it with more grace and strength.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of your social connections. Having a supportive community, surrounding yourself with people who believe in you and encourage you, that's crucial when you're going through challenges and celebrating successes.
That brings us back to the Okinawans and how important community is in their culture. Having those strong social bonds seems like a natural way to deal with stress and not feel so isolated.
Absolutely. And building on this idea of well-being and finding joy, the book goes into the concept of flow. Remember we talked about that a little earlier.
Yeah. Flow, that's when you're so absorbed in what you're doing that time just seems to disappear and you're totally in the moment,
Yeah.
like being in the zone.
Exactly. The book suggests that finding activities that create that flow state can be a big part of finding your Ikigai. These are usually activities that use your passions and skills and align with your values, things that naturally feel meaningful and engaging to you.
So it's not just about finding a job you love, it's about finding activities, whether it's work or hobbies, that get you into that flow state. But how do you even figure out what those activities are?
It takes some experimenting and really paying attention to yourself. The book suggests noticing how you feel when you're doing different things. When do you lose track of time? When do you feel completely absorbed and energized? Those are signs that you might be experiencing flow.
So it's about being mindful of your experiences and recognizing what really gets you excited and engaged. But honestly, with our busy schedules, sometimes it feels impossible to find time for those things.
That's a valid point. But even just a few minutes each day dedicated to a flow-inducing activity can make a huge difference. The book argues that prioritizing these activities is like investing in your own well-being, and it ultimately helps you feel more purpose and fulfillment in life.
This is making me want to rethink my priorities and make more time for the things that bring me joy and make me feel alive. But I'm also realizing that not everything I do will create that flow state.
hmm
How do you know if you're on the right track? What are some signs to look for?
The book talks about setting clear goals and intentions for your activities. So instead of just mindlessly scrolling through social media, for example, ask yourself, what am I hoping to get out of this? Are you trying to connect with friends, learn something new, or just relax and unwind? Having a clear purpose can help you focus your attention and make the activity more engaging.
That's a great point. It's about being more intentional with your time and energy. But let's be honest, even with good intentions, sometimes we just can't seem to find that flow in our daily lives. Any other advice from the book?
Well, they emphasize the importance of challenging yourself in the right way. Flow often happens when you're doing something that's just a little outside your comfort zone. Not so easy that it's boring, but not so hard that it feels overwhelming.
So it's about finding that sweet spot where you're challenged but not stressed out.
Exactly. And that sweet spot is different for everyone, so it takes some trial and error and self-awareness to find what works best for you. It's about embracing that process of exploration and discovery.
This is making so much sense. So finding your flow isn't about chasing pleasure. It's about doing things that challenge you, help you grow, and connect with your values and passions. It's like another piece of the Ikigai puzzle.
You got it. And the more we can cultivate those moments of flow in our lives, the more likely we are to experience a deep sense of purpose, fulfillment, and yes, even longevity. But there's still so much more to uncover about the Okinawans and their secrets to a long and vibrant life.
Okay, you've got me hooked. We've talked about their mindset, their approach to work and leisure, even their diet, but I'm dying to know more about their culture and traditions. What else makes the Okinawan lifestyle so unique? So we've covered a lot of ground, from mindset stuff to finding that flow state, but I'm really ready to get into those Okinawan secrets. Like, what are the specific traditions and rituals that contribute to them living so long?
Well, their culture is just full of practices that really support that whole Ikigai idea. And it's not just individual habits, it's like their whole approach to life is about connection and well-being.
It's like Ikigai is built into their culture, right?
Exactly.
What are some of those practices that really stand out?
One of the big ones is this tradition they have called moai. It's basically these social support groups that people form early in life and stay in throughout their lives. They offer a sense of belonging, shared responsibility, and just constant support.
So it's like a built-in network of close friends and family, like woven into the fabric of their society, a safety net of shared experiences and helping each other out.
Exactly. These moai groups often pool their resources, share meals, celebrate milestones together. It creates a really strong sense of connection and shared purpose.
That makes a lot of sense. Having that kind of support system has got to be huge for dealing with stress and not feeling isolated.
Absolutely. And it ties back into everything we've been talking about with social connections being so important. The Okinawans show us that those bonds aren't just a nice bonus, they're really crucial for a happy and healthy life.
So besides those strong social ties, are there any other unique traditions that contribute to their health and happiness?
Their connection with nature is another big factor. They incorporate nature into their everyday lives in all sorts of ways.
Hold on, before you go on, I got to ask, are we talking like tree houses and talking to plants?
Huh. Not quite, although I'm sure there are some nature lovers like that among them. It's more about bringing the outdoors into their daily routines, things like gardening, walking in nature, even just taking a moment to appreciate the fresh air and sunshine.
It sounds so peaceful and refreshing. I think a lot of us in the modern world have lost touch with nature, you know, always on our screens, stuck in the city.
Yeah, for sure. And there's actually research that shows that being in nature reduces stress, improves mood, and even boosts your immune system.
So it's like a prescription for a happy, healthy life.
Exactly.
Speaking of prescriptions, I want to circle back to the Okinawan diet for a minute. We know they eat tons of plants, but what else makes their diet so special?
Their whole approach to food is very mindful and deliberate. The traditional diet is packed with vegetables, sweet potatoes, seaweed, moderate amounts of fish, and very little red meat. They focus on quality over quantity, and they practice something called hara hachibu, which means eating until you're about 80% full.
So it's not just what they eat, but how they eat.
Right.
Like really savoring the experience, paying attention to your body's signals, and not overdoing it. I'm totally guilty of like shoveling food down on my desk. Need to work on that whole mindfulness thing.
The Okinawans would definitely encourage you to slow down and enjoy your meals. They see mealtime as a chance to connect with loved ones, be thankful for the food, and nourish your body and soul.
I love that. It's like turning eating into a mindful ritual instead of just a rushed necessity.
And we can't forget their tea drinking tradition, especially green tea, which is loaded with antioxidants and linked to all sorts of health benefits.
Okay, so green tea is the magic potion. I got to stock up. But seriously, it's incredible how all these practices, their diet, their connection to nature, their strong social connections, all work together to create this culture of well-being.
Exactly. That's the amazing thing about the Okinawan example. It's this holistic view of life, recognizing that our physical, mental, emotional, and social well-being are all connected.
It's super inspiring, but also a little intimidating, to be honest. I mean, most of us can't just pick up and move to Okinawa, right?
Yeah.
What are the key things that regular people can actually apply to their own lives?
The great thing is, you don't have to move to Okinawa to benefit from Ikigai. It's about taking those core principles and figuring out how to make them work for you. Building those strong social connections, finding purpose in what you do every day, staying active and engaged, embracing that growth mindset, and practicing gratitude. Those are things we can all start doing right now, wherever we are.
It's about making those small, intentional changes that align with what's important to us and finding ways to bring more purpose and joy into our everyday lives, like creating our own little Okinawa within ourselves.
Perfectly said. Everyone's Ikigai journey is going to be unique, but the Okinawans offer a great example and a reminder that living a long, healthy, fulfilling life is definitely possible.
This has been such an amazing deep dive, so many fascinating insights and practical tips. I feel like I'm ready to start my own Ikigai journey.
Remember, it's a lifelong process, a journey of self-discovery. Be patient with yourself, enjoy the ride, and celebrate every step along the way.
What a great message. And for our listeners who want to dive even deeper into Ikigai, we highly recommend checking out the book Ikigai, The Japanese Secret to a Long and Happy Life. It's full of inspiring stories and actionable advice that can help you find your own reason for being.
And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more explorations into fascinating topics that can enrich your life. We love connecting with our fellow deep divers.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep seeking your Ikigai.